What are the differences between the comparable and comparator interfaces and when to use which? Both these interfaces allow us to compare two objects that belong to a class. We often use these interfaces when we add our objects to sorted collections like tree set and tree map, so that those collections can use the methods that we implement and compare the objects of our class when we add them to those sorted collections to sort them based on the comparison. We implement the comparable interface, our class implements it, and we implement the compare2 method to come up with the natural ordering. For example, here when we call object1.compare to object2, and when we implement the compare2 method, this method should return -1 if object1 is less than object2, 0 if object1 is equal to object2, 1 if object1 is greater than object2. Natural ordering can be defined in multiple ways. For strings, the natural ordering is usually the alphabetical order. In this case, Philadelphia, P is ahead of S. But natural ordering could be anything. We can even say they should be compared based on their lengths and not the alphabets, but that doesn't make any sense for strings. But natural ordering, there is no strict definition for it. So we should use the comparable interface to define the natural ordering or the default behavior or the default comparison that we want to happen when two objects on a class are compared with each other, or when we add these objects to a collection like tree set or tree map. We want to tell those data structures to sort them based on a particular comparison logic. So we can define all that logic in the compare2 method by overriding and implementing it. On the other hand, we use the comparator interface to define any number of comparators we want. So if we want to dynamically change how we are comparing things, in case of strings, if we want to compare the strings by their length and not the alphabetical order, we can create a class that implements the comparator, and we can implement the compare method on it, which takes two objects, which it will compare. Again, it will return -1, 0 and 1, similar to the compare2 method. And then we can pass that custom comparator to any data structure when we are creating an instance of it. So here I am creating a tree set. It's taking an employee object and I am passing it a string length comparator. And similarly, if we are using collections.sort method that is available, we'll pass a array list here, and then whatever type of comparator we want to use when this sort is being done can be passed in as well. And we can create anonymous comparators as well. We need not implement a class. We can dynamically create a comparator right here, implement the compare method on the fly, and we can tell how those objects should be compared. To summarize, both comparator and comparable allow us to compare two objects. Comparable should be used for natural ordering, that is the default behavior. And then in our application, if we want to implement different types of comparators across the business functionalities that we have, then we should implement the comparator, or we can create an instance of the anonymous class of the comparator by implementing the comparator and by overriding or implementing the compare method.